Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyaptadeyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatoshmyam Om. Good. New people, are there any new people that haven't been to?
For the first time here.
Okay, first time. And have you been watched the videos on YouTube or on the internet or read the Shine World website, so you're familiar with the?
Yes, a couple of videos.
Yeah, cool.
I'm very new.
You're very new.
Yes.
I thought maybe you were. You're having a little problem with the Sanskrit there, huh? Couldn't understand what we were saying.
I just tune into it.
Yeah, you could feel the energy, but
Yes.
you didn't know what it meant.
No.
Yeah, that's right. Well, with Vedanta, it's always what something means. It's not what it feels like. What you feel like is subject to change, but knowledge is not subject to change. Anyway, good. Welcome. Welcome. So you take your time. We'll not put any pressure on you to learn anything, but this is all about understanding oneself, gaining self-knowledge. And it's interactive, which is to say that the way it works is that the teacher presents an idea, and it's your job, then my job is to present the idea as it is intended to be taught by Scripture. This is not my own teaching. There's nothing personal in this. I'm just a teacher of Vedanta. Vedanta is the science of existence shining as awareness. Now that may sound like a big topic, and it is a big topic, but it's definitely knowable, doable, and it needs to be done carefully according to certain rules. I am controlled by the tradition, the Vedanta tradition, of which that chant was an invocation. I'm controlled by the rules of the tradition, how I teach this. So if there's any problems, take it up with God, okay? Don't take it up with me, because I'm just teaching God's words. The scriptures are the words of God. You'll understand what God means as we go. And you're always wrong. Okay. You have to have that mindset. We do not argue. It's absolutely against the rules that we argue with you. So either you understand it, which means you're prepared to understand it, or you don't. And if you don't understand it, that's not bad. It just means there's some qualifications that are missing, and we will also explain to you how to develop those qualifications. And having said that, I want to make a confession. I'm going to confess you're going to be the priest in the temple, in the church, and so I'm going to come and say, Father, I have sinned, and you're going to listen to my confession. Okay? This is a satsang that I published recently on the website and elsewhere on the internet. And the idea is that we're always learning. We're always a student of life. There's always something to know. Even once you're clear about your identity and you've actualized your identity and living a righteous life, there's always something to know and something to learn. This is a state of mind. And if you're always open to hearing and listening and learning, you will grow like a flower, a beautiful flower. The petals of the lotus of your heart will open and open and open endlessly. And every day will be a pleasure. And every day you'll look in the mirror and there'll be a new person there, a fresh person. Yesterday's person will have gone. And you'll smile and you'll look at yourself and you'll say, it's nice being me. And tomorrow that person will be gone and a new person will be there. It's exciting and interesting, thrilling, in fact. Because as soon as you live 1 second behind now, you're dead. You're just a thought form. You're a memory, a habit. And that means you're a boring person, basically. You're not living fresh, alive. Okay? So Vedanta is not just an intellectual philosophy. It's not a philosophy at all. It's not an intellectual belief system. Yes, you need to have faith in it, that it works. But you can't memorize or read your way to freedom. It's not possible. You need to understand these concepts, so that requires some memory. But as far as actualizing these concepts, these ideas, that doesn't work unless you know how to actualize the knowledge of your wholeness, your completeness. When Ron asked what topic, and I asked Ron what topic he'd like, and he said self-actualization. Self-actualization is the realization, is the stage after self-realization. When you realize what you are and you have no doubts about it, then you can actualize it. Until you're clear about what you are, who you are, how can you actualize it? So you need to get clear knowledge first, and then once that knowledge is firm, you're absolutely convinced that it's true for you, then you can actualize it and you can live the life of a free person. You can live a non-dual life. You can live a life of unconditional love. And the conflicts will just not be there anymore. The doubts, the confusions, the emotions, the conflicts will just gradually disappear as you apply this knowledge to your life. Where we don't allow you to get away with hearing the knowledge and then making a claim that you're enlightened and think that exempts you from what? From living the life. Just claiming that you're enlightened doesn't work in Vedanta. They won't let you get away with that. The modern teachers will let you get away with that. In fact, most of the modern teachers, that's all they know. is intellectual knowledge. They talk about non-duality, but they don't live non-dual lives as we understand it, as the scripture understands it, which is a dynamic transformation effected by what? The whole field of existence on what? Every conscious entity that is operating here. You will see as we go. So, this confession, the topic is recognizing and eliminating the dualistic mindset. Vedanta is much more than intellectual concepts that give us the inspiration to cope with life. It is living non-duality. Inspiration without action wears off, keeping seekers seeking, whereas Vedanta ends seeking and provides a blueprint for the joyous transformational living. It's difficult to let go of seeking because despite its downsides, seeking is often a comforting identity, a security blanket of sorts, limited comforting identity. But when you understand the value of Vedanta, the seeking stops. You no longer become a seeker, you become a finder. There's a very big difference between seeking something and finding something. To find it, you need to be taught what it is. Be clear about it, because everybody has a doubt about what they are, for reasons that we will explain as we go. For quite a while, I was living in the dream that most long-term Vedanta people who've been in Vedanta for years, sometimes many years, actually recognized what a dualistic mindset was or is. I thought, oh, they keep coming back over and over and over again. They must understand what a dualistic mindset is. And if they do, they must be working on eliminating it. Because it's one thing to know what a dualistic mindset is, and it's another thing to eliminate it or supplant it with a non-dual mindset. Because the whole issue here is what you're thinking about. What you're thinking is what you are. So when I didn't understand this at first, but my teacher made it clear that to me, he just said, you're not thinking correctly. Sit down, shut up. This was his words. Sit down, shut up, pay attention, and we'll have you out of here as soon as possible. You'll no longer be a seeker. Because you're using up valuable space that other people can use. And I thought, that's interesting. That's the first time anybody ever said that. A spiritual teacher that wants to get rid of me as quick as possible. That sounds promising, because I wanted to get rid of me. I was tired of me. I was tired of seeking, always tired of looking for some kind of new experience, fresh experience that would inspire me and make me feel high. And I was tired of crashing down off those inspirational highs and then going back and trying to get inspired again, over and over and over again, round and round and round again, building a vasana, a tendency to seek. So I didn't have any, I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, I had money in the bank, I was healthy, and I was fed up totally with the world. And I thought, really sounds promising. If I can like crack the code here, I'm going to be happy the rest of my life. Because that's what Vedanta says. If you can crack the code, you can figure out this riddle, who am I, what am I, you won't have a bad day from that day onward. Not possible. So I worked hard. I did every day. I just did self-inquiry, self-actualization from 4 in the morning when I got up till about 10 or 11 at night every day. I slept 4 or 5 hours in the 24-hour period. And that's all I did. And one fine day, the world stopped. Time ended. And I stepped off that wheel of time, that samsara wheel. And everything was fresh and new. And the status of the world had changed. What does that mean? That's all that's going to happen. All you're going to discover, and that doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. The status of the world changed. It changed from what to what? It changed from what formerly had been real, now became real in a new way. What formerly was real became unreal, and then it became what? Real in a new way. Real because what? The world was me. There was no difference between the world and me. Now think about it. If there's no difference between you and any object that you perceive or feel or smell or taste or touch, what will your life be like? Your life will be happy, totally satisfied. You'll be totally satisfied and happy. Why? Because you'll treat everybody, every living being, with the same degree of self-regard that you treat yourself. Everything you do is to please yourself. And what if this knowledge, what gets it clear in your mind that there is nobody else other than you? Then how are you going to relate to all those apparent other people? You're going to treat them with the same love you treat yourself. You're going to love them the same as you love yourself, which is the self is the highest form of love. Think about that. Because all our problems are coming from what? Duality. Thinking that what? The objects, the world that we perceive outside ourselves is different from us. That's called duality. And non-duality is simply what? Seeing that there is no difference anywhere. And of course, the practical application of that is what? Your life just becomes a total joy, and it just flows beautifully. And God takes care of all your karma for you. Because you're so satisfied, you offload your karma to the field of existence, and it looks after you. It provides everything you need, and it takes away everything you don't need automatically. And you don't have to waste your time deciding what you like and what you don't like, what you want and what you don't want, and agonizing over the results of your actions, because you're no longer a person who's doing something. You're an entity that exists. And as I shared what I knew over the years, I discovered that many seekers claimed they were working hard on themselves, but They were still cultivating a dualistic mindset. So they hadn't understood the difference between non-duality and duality, what non-dual thinking was and what dualistic thinking was. And we're not saying that dualistic thinking is not useful. It's very useful in this world, because you got to transact with people in this world who don't have a non-dual mindset, and you can't transact with people in this world who have a dualistic mindset from a non-dual point of view, because they don't know what you're talking about. They just think you're goofy, and they call the little men in white coats, and they'll come and medicate you because there's something wrong with you. Right? So we're not saying throw away duality. We're saying when there's a problem or an issue, subjectively, when you have some conflict in yourself, right? Change your state of mind. Look at what you think and feel from a non-dual platform, and that issue, that emotional problem will disappear. Or at least it will shrink down to a manageable size so that you can see it as an object, and it will be more or less like an entertainment. You'll say, what the heck? I thought that was real, and it doesn't seem to be real at all. It's just a joke. Why am I worried about this? Whatever it is. So, and in the spiritual world, there are many people who have just, they partially assimilated the idea of non-duality, but they have not assimilated it completely. So they're stuck. And self-actualization, which we're going to demonstrate for you using a particular device. This is called a mnemonic device. This is just Vedanta in code. We're going to use this device to help you understand what you are and what you aren't. Because freedom is knowing the difference between what you are and what you aren't. You can't claim that everything's you unless you understand why it's you. And to understand why everything is you, you need to know the difference between what is non-dual and what is duality. So, and how does that manifest in a practical, daily, everyday situation? How does that manifest every day? Very simply. It manifests as your fears and your desires. Now, everybody has fears and desires. Is there anybody who doesn't have a desire and a fear? If you have a fear, you have a desire, and if you have a desire, you have a fear. That's called duality. That's one. But what is your relationship to your fears and your desires? And normally you have a desire and you want what you want, and you have a fear and you don't want something. But not wanting something is what? Wanting the absence of something else, isn't it? So a fear is just a negative desire, and a desire is just a positive fear. Isn't it? So what is my relationship to my fears and desires? Do I take them seriously and pander to them? Or can I dismiss them out of hand and put them out of mind simply by what? Changing my relationship to them. And if that's true, what knowledge would I need to change my relationship to my fears and desires? Because I, existence shining as ever blissful consciousness, has no fears and desires. I have no fears and desires. There's only one I, the I that's speaking here, and the same I that's listening there. I'm saying my eye is different from your eye because there's only one eye. That's what non-duality means. There's not two eyes. There's only one eye. So what kind of knowledge would I need to change my relationship to what I want and what I don't want? If I'm continually trying to get what I want and avoid what I don't want, we call that samsara. That's duality. That's a painful state of mind. It's a state of attachment. And nobody likes to be attached. You may convince yourself that you need to be attached to something, but you don't like it. And you know why you don't want to be or like to be attached? Because it's not possible for you to be attached because you're free of what? Of that entity that believes that its fears and desires are real in the first place. So when you're not ready to let go, here, I'll read a little more here. Ready of your fear, you might recognize this in yourself. Obviously, this is just for your own edification. So, when you're not ready to let go of your fears and desires, any particular teaching can supply a reason for hanging on to them. So you can give a good Vedanta teaching that will and use it to justify hanging on to your fears and your desires. But the essence of Vedanta teaching is what? You are not subject to fears and desires, because your nature is what? Ever free, unborn existence, shining as ever full, blissful awareness. So, and what is the most common one of these problems? That, and you've heard me say it many times, probably some of you, particularly at the beginning when I was starting to get well known. Not because I believed it, but because it was necessary to teach this to get you up to this level. And that is what? That life is a both and, not an either or. That means if life is a both and not an either or, then what? Then I can have my cake and eat it too, can't I? I can have my fears and desires and claim freedom. Isn't it? But what if it's an either or? Now, either or means what? I can't have my and love myself unconditionally. The reason you don't love yourself unconditionally is because you pander to your fears and your desires. You're going against your nature. I understand how hard this is. Don't. I can see you struggling with this. This is not easy. Yeah. So, if you say it's a both and, then you can say I'm the self and what, and nothing affects me. And I can play in the world and have my fears and desires, and nothing affects me. Now, is that a non-dual statement? No, it's a statement of duality, isn't it? Because it's assuming that one thing, there are two things, one of which is unaffected and the other which is affected. This is what you see in the modern spiritual world. Everybody's claiming their awareness, they're the self, but what? They're just operating out of their default dualistic habits. They're still doing exactly the same thing, and they're saying those things don't have any effect upon me because I'm the self. Well, then what's the point of all this? Because Vedanta is about attaining perfection. Understand? Well, what's the use? If you're an imperfect entity here and operating from an idea that there's something wrong with you, then you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. And the world needs people who are not imperfect. People who are it needs people who are perfectly satisfied with themselves as they are. Meaning what? Perfectly satisfied with their imperfections and perfectly satisfied with their perfection. What's the common denominator in that statement? Perfectly satisfied. Perfectly satisfied people are what we need. You want to solve the problems of the world? You're worried about the wars? You're worried about the economy? I don't know what. You just worry about anything. Well, that's the only solution you're going to have. Because dissatisfaction just generates more dissatisfaction. Not just in you, but in everybody you come in contact with. When you walk in a room and somebody's dissatisfied and unhappy, how do you feel? You want to leave the room, don't you? You don't want to stay there. Why? Because that dissatisfaction, that unhappiness transfers automatically into you because that person is non-different from you. So you run off. Whereas if somebody's satisfied and blissful and loving themselves, you're immediately attracted and you want to sit down and enjoy the company of that person, don't you? There's plenty of duality in your life. And the only solution, this is so hard, this is why there's only 40 people here and 5,000 people are listening to Satguru, who says you can do whatever you want and have a good time and all that sort of thing. Unfortunately, when the self thinks it's a doer, it doesn't know that the world doesn't affect it. See, the problem is there's only one self, but the self thinks it's doing things. And the self can't do anything. Why can't it do anything? Does existence have legs and arms and feet and a mouth and ears and a tongue? Does existence have any of that? Does consciousness have those things? No, it doesn't. So it can't do anything, yet you say, I am doing, I am what? Enjoying, I'm thinking, I'm feeling, I'm this and I'm that, and so forth and so on. But the I doesn't have the equipment to do all those things. So there's got to be a confusion going on in the self. Somehow it's deluded. It doesn't understand what it is. And our job is to what? Remove that ignorance. Not to make you perfect and whole and complete and satisfied, because you're already whole and complete and satisfied. You just don't appreciate it because you got the wrong idea of yourself. You think you're a person. You think you were born. Who doesn't think they were born? Do you think you were born? Yeah, you think you were born. Of course you do.
You have a date of birth.
You have a date of birth. And you can't function in this society without a date of birth and a name and a place of residence and so forth and so on. But you don't have any of those things. You think you have them. You've been told you have them. You've picked up, not your fault. Mom and Pop and the church and the state and the schools and everybody fed you all this information, and what do you know? You're just stupid and young, and blissful. You're innocent, and they just for your own good, they tell you what? All this nonsense about yourself and about the world, and you just swallow it right up, and you never think about it twice. And then you wonder why you got problems in your life. So our job is to what? To correct this situation, that's all. Because you're fine. You're absolutely fine, always. We're not trying to make you fine. We see you as fine. We means those people who know. And because when you think you have choices and are a doer, you like that. You like options, don't you? Don't you want options? Look at the options you've got on the iPad or on your computer. How many options there are, different ways of doing the same thing. I just got an Apple iPhone and a big, expensive MacBook Pro. Jesus Christ! And I'm no genius, but I'm not that stupid. But boy, I can barely keep my keep function in that environment because there are just so many options, so many different ways of doing the same thing. And we like that. Why? Because it keeps us busy. And why do we need to keep busy? Because we're bored with ourselves. We think we're bored with life, but we're actually bored with ourselves because it starts here. Boredom starts here. It doesn't start out there and come here. If it does, you only can relate to boredom because your boredom resonates with the boredom of the people around you, and you congratulate yourself that you're all one, and you got cynical and this and that and the other thing. The doer likes options, and it knows that a particular path is going to limit them. When you choose one thing, you don't get this, right? You see, this is the downside of free will and choice. If I choose a hamburger, I can't eat a hot dog. Right? I want to eat my hamburger, but there's a hot dog sitting there, but I can't eat that at the same time. Can I? So by choosing the hamburger, I have foregone the opportunity to eat a hot dog. Well, that's not fair, is it? I should have the opportunity to eat a hot dog. So now I choose to eat the hot dog, but now I've what? I've eliminated the enjoyment from the hamburger. See the dualistic mindset? See how it is? You all know this. I don't have to really, teach it to you because we all know this. This is a zero-sum game here. This is a zero-sum. There's no gain. You're not actually gaining by choosing. You're not losing by choosing, but you're not gaining by choosing either. Understand? And that's called human nature. I say, no, que sera, sera. That's too bad. That's the way it is. Tough, and suck it up and so forth and so on. Well, you don't have to suck it up. You don't have to accept it. We're saying don't accept it. We're saying there's a way out. The fact that this world is a zero-sum situation should not be a what? Should not create disappointment and cynicism and frustration in you. It should open the door to a great opportunity if you know how to think properly. So our job is to educate you to think properly. Insofar. insofar as the stated desire of everyone is what? freedom and non-dual love. Isn't it? How do we know that everybody wants freedom? Is there anybody here that doesn't want freedom? No, everybody wants freedom. Why? Why do you want freedom? How do we know that you all want freedom? Speaking of myself also, at one time. I don't want freedom anymore because I'm free, but think about it. Why? How do we know that your primary desire is for freedom? Because every single thing that you do is an attempt to remove a sense of limitation, isn't it? Think about it. Everything you do is motivated by a desire to get rid of what? Something that's bothering you. Like you got a chest cold. So you have a chest cold, so what do you have a cold? So what do? You go buy some cold medicine. Right? You're hungry and you go eat some food. Now, do you really want the food? Is it really the food that you want? Is it really the medicine that you want? Is it really the beautiful, sexy person on the other side that you want? The desire? Is it really that object that you want? Or the security, the money? Is that really what you want? No, it's not. What do you really want? You want freedom from want. Isn't it? You want freedom from fear. This is what you don't want. It's the same thing. What you want and what you don't want are the same. You want freedom from fear. Fear is what? That you're going to get something you don't want. You don't want what you think you want or what you don't want. You want the freedom that comes from what? Not wanting, not fearing. Well, how can you argue with it? You can't argue. That's the beauty of Vedanta. We don't argue because you can't argue. If you're in this dualistic mindset, you cannot argue with this. You may reject it because it implies what? The loss of this identity of what? Doing and choosing and being powerful in your own life and making your own happiness and making the world work for you. According to you, what you want. But there's no argument. No. Because what happens is not up to you. If it was up to you, then what? You'd have everything you want. Wouldn't you? If the results of your actions were up to you, then you'd have everything you want. And what? You'd be happy. But as soon as you get what you want something else. As soon as you get rid of the fear, you fear something else. Which means what? You didn't get rid of the fear or the desire at all. The object didn't work. Chasing objects doesn't work. This is what I mean, huh? That's the lesson you need to take from what? From duality, from the zero-sum nature of duality. Before you can actually what? Take advantage of the Vedanta. Because Vedanta is assuming that what? That you want to be free. And it can prove to you that you're free. That's our job. We're going to prove to you that you're actually free if you actually listen. If you hang on to your own belief and you don't accept the fact that reality is zero-sum, then it's not going to work. So I suggest that you provisionally accept these ideas at least before you reject them out of hand. Because you may surprise yourself. You may very possibly surprise yourself. and discover something that you've wanted to know all along, but what? Have been too frightened or too full of passion to what? To achieve. The hallmark of the ignorant of the self-ignorant self is fear. We're going to talk about this here now. This is what, when you're self-ignorant, you think fear is smart. Don't you have insurance? Don't you have lots of insurance? Huh? In one way or the other? Oh yeah, you do. Why? Did you know the most enlightened people in the society are the insurance companies? You know why? Because they're betting that all the time everything goes right. But you're not betting that everything goes right. You're betting that what? Things are likely to go wrong. And so you're going to you're going to give them the money to what? To ensure that you're okay when things go wrong. And they get just super rich. And you're always like struggling to make your insurance payments, right? Think about it. Anyway, the hallmark of this. Now, listen to this. We're going to get it. It's a scary word now. Conspiracy. You all okay with the word conspiracy? I bet you there's some conspiracy freaks here in this crowd. How's that? We love you. Don't worry about it. It's good. You can believe in the conspiracies. It's all right. It's fine. So what? These are people who think fear is smart. So nobody's going to pull the wool over my eyes. I'm always suspicious. I know they're out to get me. You know, the da-di-da-di-das and the da-di-da-di-das, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And I got my butt covered so nobody could sneak up behind and give me the business, you know. So this fear person, the person whose fears are the dominant factor in their psyche, right? They think that life's a big conspiracy. It is. That's the interesting fact. It is a big conspiracy, but what? It's not the conspiracy that you think it is. It's not the protocols, the elders of Zion, and who knows what, the vaccine guys, and the Israelis or the Jews or the Muslims, whatever you want, whatever word you want to put on. It's none of those things. Although they all are conspiring one way or the other. In fact, you're conspiring. You're conspiring to make world work for you, which is like really silly, but anyway, that's okay. So, this conspiracy is not what you think it is. Even though Vedanta repeatedly points out that ignorance is the only virus and that self-knowledge is the only vaccine, these words still fall on deaf ears of many good people who are not ready to let their fears and desires go, and trust life to take care of them. That's a big burden, isn't it? Protecting yourself? Isn't that always protecting yourself? From your wife, your husband, your kids, your job, your boss, the world. Now some kid in America shot 19 people and killed 19 people, and then injured a whole bunch more, and then ran off into the woods, and they're still looking for him. You read the newspaper, and that's not a conspiracy. That's just ignorance. Anyway, so
James.
time
Time for a break?
Let's stick.
Good.
Oh God, I'm running on here, aren't I?
No, you're perfectly.
Time goes fast when you're having fun. Yeah, so take a break and we'll be back at 10 minutes, 10 after, and we'll continue with this idea. I'm kind of holding off on this because there's a couple people that are going to come tomorrow, and I don't want them to miss the whole enchilada. So take a break and we'll be back in a few minutes.